little Foss isn't gone just yet, and perhaps one day her heart can be as colorful as the world around her once more.
That didn't age well. Howdy there, Stone Bros and Stone Sisters. Yes, it's that time again. Time to mine the precious undisturbed geodes hiding beneath layers upon layers of sad rocks. Surprise, I'm back. I'd like to mention that now we'll be using the gems' proper pronoun they, so try to keep up, nerds. Chapter 82 represents a serious turning point in the story. After giving up on life entirely and being brutally assaulted by the Earth Gems, Foss has made yet another change, and their headspace sounds a little like this. Folks don't like me because I'm inconsiderate, apparently, but I'm suffering for them, and yet they still don't seem to care about me. Sensei loves me, and Sensei can help me die. Therefore, screw everyone else that gets in the way of me in sweet oblivion. Foss's thinking has taken a turn for the worst, but there's still a part of them that just wants to be loved, and Sensei is the only one who can possibly provide those two things they want most: to be loved and to be dead. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties with the trauma truck. It was never meant to carry loads this heavy. Foss's new design here may hold an interesting bit of symbolism. It's possible that Foss's new makeover is a twisted take on the Buddhist Bodhisattva. A Bodhisattva describes someone on their way to becoming a Buddha, and as we'll see later, that may very well be the case for Foss. Another idea about the Bodhisattva states that they are those who delay their entrance to nirvana to assist others on their path to nirvana. I have seen this particular description of the Bodhisattva called into question before, so take it with a grain of salt. But think about it. Besides the physical similarities like the halo-y thingy and the hundreds of arms that shoot out, Foss is someone whose ascension to nirvana, so to speak, has literally been delayed, and they've ultimately been trying to help everybody find peace. But, as with all things phosphophylito flavored, there has to be some sort of ironic twist. The delay of Foss's obliteration was not of their own accord, and in seeking their own peace, they may obliterate everyone else in the process. The imagery of the benevolent Bodhisattva on a harbinger of doom. As for the rest of the world, we see it has once again settled into complacency. Both the Moon and Earth Gems are quite content with their new lives, and you know what that means. Foss accomplished darn near nothing again. How's being the catalyst for change going for you, Foss? Whoa, mama. You know, it's sad to see someone try so hard to change a world that refuses to change itself. Am I right, folks? I said, am I right, folks? Well, lucky for Foss, changing stuff doesn't seem to be the primary thing on their mind at the moment. It's all revenge now. Speaking of things not changing, guess what Foss tries to do? Is it A, rope others into their shenanigans again, B, pull their would-be allies into their schemes again, or C, bring along poorly treated friends to assist in their plots again? If your answer was any of these, congratulations, you know Foss a little bit too well. Foss even goes so far as to target the Moon Gems' deepest insecurities. Again. You're a wonderful human being, Foss, don't you ever forget that. Meanwhile, back on Earth, everyone's having a great time, celebrating Sensei's new birthday, frolicking like a bunch of pansies, and most importantly, accepting Cinnabar as one of the family. Ah, has a heart ever melted, such as on this day? Have the petals of a rose ever reflected such crimson beauty as Cinnabar's gleaming locks? Happy time's over, Fosspocalypse inbound. Congratulations, everyone, you've hit the trauma token jackpot. During this ever so tearful reunion of old classmates, Dia finally gets to confront Big Scary Bort, who's not so scary anymore. Perhaps getting wrecked in combat during the night raid taught them some humility, or perhaps they aren't comfortable lifting their sword against the gems they once protected. Bort is less interested in fighting, and more interested in tending to what might as well be their extended family, the jellyfish. I swear, cutting Bort's hair was an actual crime, Ichikawa. Anyway, Bort and Dia square up. Sort of. Bort just lets Dia whack him. You see, they've both changed considerably. Dia is more violent and unrestrained, and Bort is the complete opposite. It's like they switched places for a moment. I have to wonder if Dia's idol status has allowed them to express theirself more fully. They have the adoration of fans the moon over, so what say does their old hater have left in their life? Or maybe they still see Bort's opinion as the ultimate validation. Or maybe Dia hates their own need for validation. It could be a mix of all of those. As for Bort, if they have truly lost their lust for battle when it means hurting those they care about, it's a no-brainer that they'd yield to Daya. As much of a meanie-bud as Bort has been to Daya, they've been shown to actually care on multiple occasions. Perhaps Daya is even the source of Bort's fiery personality. You know, protect mode and all that. Too bad Daya's love language is not being called an idiot. Needless to say, I'm looking forward to seeing how things will change between these two later. They're coming back, right? Right? If Bort is a good enough bud to not want to rip and tear their pals, what does that say about the now literal freak on a leash, Alex, who has thoroughly become the very thing they hated? Alex hated Lunarians for taking away their friend, but now they practically are a Lunarian and smashing the ones they once called friend left, right, and center. Heck, Benito is seriously the only moon gem here that hasn't gone into dust lust overdrive. Just because they've had their issues with Nepti, familiarity breeds contempt and all that, Benito isn't ready to Hulk out and smash. Benito sees this all for what it really is. Insanity. This is insanity. Chapter 88 is a doozy. While Cairngorm's derping about, ignoring the impending doom of the everything, as Cairngorm do, ya boy Ikmia is dropping mad fire in the form of everybody's favorite narrative tool, exposition. The thing that we all thought was happening, that being Ikmia turning Foss into a human, was totally happening. He also wanted Foss to suffer, so they can gain a belief that one can be lustrated, which in the world of Houseki basically just means you want to erase your existence, and you're fully counting on Sensei to do it. It's also one of the 2 requirements for Sensei to start praying, the other being that the one trusting in him is also human. There's a nifty translator's note courtesy of Black Cat Scanlations. It goes into what the concept of a belief that one can be lustrated really is. I recognize the mention of Amitabha here. He's the primary deity of Pure Land Buddhism. The belief is that if you pray to Amitabha, you're reborn in the Pure Land, where working toward enlightenment becomes much easier. The idea of the Pure Land was also a primary inspiration for Houseki, according to Ichikawa herself. Note that the Western Paradise and the Pure Land are the same thing. For a long time I had wondered which form of Buddhism Houseki was primarily based in, and I now have my answer, even though it was staring me right in the face the whole time. Pure Land Buddhism also happens to be very popular in this day and age because its requirements are so simple. Much like Christianity, it only requires devotion to a deity for salvation to be obtained. Oh, and guess what? Pure Land Buddhism is a school of Mahayana Buddhism, and you know what the aim of Mahayana Buddhism is? To be a Bodhisattva. The more you know. Ikmia believes that vengeance is the most human emotion, but why would someone reasonably think that? Well, vengefulness, like hatred and jealousy, is an entirely negative emotion that doesn't serve to help the person experiencing it at all. It only breaks you down. More simple-minded creatures need not think of anything other than what benefits them, but humans have a tendency to be self-destructive, to knowingly follow paths that are dangerous and find no joy in the process. And I'm not talking about the ways that we self-destruct when it comes to stuff like drinking, smoking, and eating too much sugar. No, those all trick the brain's reward system to give a fleeting and false sense of happiness, which is absolutely awful and all, but I'm talking about the kind of stuff that we do to feel vindicated, in sheer ignorance of how we will be utterly destroyed. Things like the aforementioned vengeance, hatred, and jealousy. Foss was made human by experiencing what it's like to destroy yourself. Now that we have confirmation that Ikmia's plan was to make Foss human all along, what's next for the slimy geek? Now he's saying he wants to make Foss better than human, which I take to mean he's going to make Foss the next sensei. He's also planning something freaky with the ice on the moon, so $20 says he's making an Antark clone. After Chapter 88, we start learning way too much, way too fast. Adamant's brother, HAL 9000, blew up the world. Ice flows are people too, and Ikmia is Enma. Wait, hold up, let's talk about that last one. In the past, the Lunarians decided who would be prayed for by Sensei by bringing in the good old Hindu-style caste system, a system that in real life dictated your social standing by basically saying, oh, you were born poor? Well, you must not be very close to enlightenment. See you when you're reincarnated with a little more money and status. Although, thankfully, the caste system nowadays isn't so hardcore, and even folks of the lowest caste can be in a position of power. In Houseki, people are judged in the caste system system by how good of a person they are, and if you're at the bottom, you get thrown into Moon Hell, actually known as the Waste Bin. Ikmiya was the guy who set free all of the poor souls left in that dark little pit, forfeiting his place in line to get prayed for in the process. Ikmiya forfeiting his ascension to help others is like that one idea of the Bodhisattva we talked about. And we also have explicit mention of Enma, the Buddhist deity that decides whether you go to hell or not. Enma is his real name also. Now, I'm not one to praise symbolism for symbolism's sake, so I'm interested to see if this will all be used to make some sort of point in the future, or if it's just some neat flavoring. Anyway, Foss and Rutiel share some similarities. For both of them, every time a little bit of progress is made, whether it's saving an unwilling world or trying to bring back an old friend, it all seems to fall apart shortly afterward, which makes it all the more sad when Foss can't recognize Rutiel as a fellow sufferer. If Foss thinks of Rutiel as a rabid wild animal, then that makes Foss truly a monster. Foss right now reflects the worst of humanity, being unable to see past herself and treating similarly crestfallen folks as nothing more than dirt to walk over. The next to fall is Jade, who laments that they were never able to understand Foss. Foss continues to be cold and cruel, but this statement appears to have struck a nerve. Remember that one of Foss's primary desires, despite how monstrous they've become, is to be loved and understood, as it is with any human. Chapter 92, Night. The ultimate battle between Foss and Cinnabar. The two outcasts, bound by their desire for acceptance and the purpose they offer one another, now stand as enemies, one rejecting their kin and lost in their own pain, and the other who's content to fight for their family's sake despite the possibility of being manipulated by them. In a brilliant and violent display of mercury and gold, they clash. Aftermath. What's left is an amalgamated pool of the two gems, and from it emerges Foss, with Cinnabar's head on the end of their blade. Cinnabar gives Foss their final goodbye, thanking Foss that they were given a place among the other gems as their guardian. Foss's promise is fulfilled in the most twisted way imaginable. Melding with the mercury, Foss takes on a very human form. This Foss is still bent on having Sensei pray, but appears less enraged, almost eerily peaceful. They wander down the halls and see a glimpse of their old self. They don't recognize it. If the Houseki community and I are correct, Foss saw these images of their self due to melding with Cinnabar and experiencing their memories. Cinnabar still remembered Foss as they were. Foss finally reaches Sensei, and he explains that due to his defect, it truly is impossible for him to complete a prayer. In response, Foss tells him to break, and he does. This is the last image we're left with in Chapter 93. Adamant, the strongest being in the known universe, shattered by the mere word of a human. If Sensei really is gone now, that's going to leave things in a strange place, where everyone's either going to have to go on living as they are, or someone is going to have to replace him. Foss may really be a Bodhisattva on the way to Buddhahood. Now for some closing thoughts. Well, first of all, I sure hope things get a bit brighter. Oh man, it took me a long time to warm up to these chapters. Just as an adult longs for childhood, I long for baby Foss. And now Cinnabar. And well, everybody. I'm still holding on to hope, guys. Happy-ish ending, here we come. Yeah. If there's any big takeaway from this, it's, don't be like Foss. Like, at all. Lashing out at the world that rejects you will only turn you into a monster. It won't bring you the peace or acceptance you seek. Accepting yourself is all you need. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't embrace change or anything. It just means not condemning who you are at any given point in time. If you can live with yourself, you can live with anything. I'd like to thank everybody who stuck with me this past eternity, and I'm looking forward to making more videos. Maybe not on a bi-weekly schedule, I feel like that affects the quality of the content and burns me out super fast, but definitely not every 8 months either. Thanks again, Gem Friends. I'll see you all next time. Stay safe out there.